any person watching, it's an update that's really kind of getting businesses to adjust a little bit their process. If you don't know it, you're probably going to have a tough time scaling in Black Friday.
My name's Sasha, and for almost a decade now, I've been helping new founders build and grow profitable e-commerce businesses. We've helped almost 2,000 people launch from scratch. And I'm joined today by my co-host, Hamen Baba, who spent over $30 million on ad spend and generated over $100 million of e-commerce revenue for our clients. We've got a very important show for people today, talking about the Andromeda update, some specific things that founders need to do, what to look out for, how to structure their creative, particularly into this Black Friday period.
Absolutely. So first thing, when Meta, they start kind of advertising something, most of the time they mess up something. Some businesses are having a tough time kind of get back on track, particularly in terms of performance.
A lot more people have been talking about it, especially in the last 2-3 months, as if all of a sudden something changed. People are like, oh my God, I'm freaking out because my performance is not as good as what it was.
It means that there's something that needs to be changed. And that's why businesses are freaking out, because they need to adapt. I'm actually excited about the future with Meta. So it's going to be good.
What's going on?
Many things. So yeah, very excited about this. And by the way, for any person watching, it's an update that's really kind of getting businesses to adjust a little bit their creative process. And I think it's going to be a good thing to analyze, what are the inputs, how to scale, because if you don't know it and then you just, you're doing the previous, I would say, structure, you're probably going to have a tough time scaling in Black Friday and even beyond, let's say, Black Friday. So I'm very excited.
The thing that I think I wanted to start with here that's interesting is it seems as though this Andromeda update's a recent thing, as if it's I've been reading and researching into this, and a lot more people have been talking about it, especially in the last 2-3 months, as if all of a sudden something changed. But I think if you look back at when this actually started happening, it was really towards the end of 2024, where Meta's shift started to kind of push a little bit more into. We've heard it around creative are the new targeting, or use your creatives to do the targeting, or don't worry about doing the interest, don't worry about doing the lookalikes, don't worry about doing all these specific targeting mechanisms, and use your creatives to do that. But I think this at the moment is more so just the label that's been applied to what's happened. And now all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, I'm freaking out because my performance is not as good as what it was. My creatives aren't working as good as what they were. So tell me what you've seen in terms of any changes, any things in ad accounts, any specific performance related, reduces, declines in performance. What's been going on?
Absolutely. So first thing, when Meta, they start kind of advertising something, most of the time they mess up something. So I've seen this many times with the update with the iOS. The moment they started mentioning this and they started kind of transitioning, we've seen a lot of, I would say, underperformance, businesses freaking out. So right now it feels like the same thing. Some businesses are having a tough time kind of get back on track, particularly in terms of performance. And this is when I feel like Meta, when they do a new update, their own algorithm, it's just very messy. And I don't think they control it to a certain degree. In fact, I'll tell you just a quick story. Meta reached out to us and as just an agency account that we have, and they asked us, well, you want you to test more creatives. And they gave us a credit, $10,000. And actually I did this even with Besso. They gave us $1,000 in terms of credit to leverage. And the 10,000 was essentially, can you test creatives? And I remember, I talked to a person on Meta. I was like, hey, you guys are giving this budget. I just want to split test some things. We're going to run these, let's say, new hooks and new colors and show backgrounds. They were like, that's probably not good. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They were like, you're not going to get the best of this budget if you just do these things. So it feels like they're almost testing when they do an update. And for me, that was kind of an eye opener. So you guys are testing essentially an algorithm that you can't control. So it feels like that's what's happening. And they're kind of mentioning the Andromeda more and more because they feel like if they don't say that, then people would think it's like the past. So I feel like that's probably something to note is they're talking about it more right now because people need to adapt and businesses need to adapt. And the fact that if I was to look at it the other way, they started 2024, probably if it was really good, they would not talk about it. Just be good. It's like a new update and every person would be kind of thinking, well, it's always the same. It's always good. But the fact that talking about it more, trying to push it more, it means that there's something that needs to be changed. And that's why businesses are freaking out because they need to adapt. And I think that's the thing to think about.
I definitely agree. And I think from like a meta level, like in terms of the way that they are approaching this is like the user wants to stay on the platform. How do you keep the user on the platform? Give the user really good quality content to consume such that they want to stay on the platform. And that's really all it comes down to, you know? And so it's like, if say, for example, the algorithm in the last 12 to 18 months was like ranking and scoring and beginning to determine like the quality of the content that you are putting in as an advertiser, now that's really just like ratcheted up to the whole next level. And the algorithms like scrutinizing the quality, the differentiation of your content versus, I don't know, 2 years ago where it would just be like you with your interests, you with your lookalikes, you with your targeting strategies being like, I need this person, I need to push budget into here. So it's becoming more and more and more of like a creator's landscape, I think, from what I'm seeing.
Absolutely. And think about this. Meta, literally 6 years ago, they introduced this new thing, which was the power of five. And they were like just trying to explain, well, we have the power of five. And they actually still sticking to it. Power of five was kind of the 5 core pillars in terms of media buying and marketing with their platform. And they were like, first thing, auto advanced matching. So we're going to be almost like looking at, the people that are visiting, using that data and kind of leveraging that to find your audience. Account simplification. One campaign, all the creatives in there, we're going to help you scale without really having to do any media buying. You just load the creatives and we're going to do the work for you. It's really around, as an advertiser, you should not do much. We're going to do the work for you. And the third one was the CBO, which in the past, by the way, at one moment, I think 2019, they were like, we're going to remove ABO. Asset budget. We're going to just transition to CBO entirely. And you guys don't even need to control the budget. We're just going to do that for you. And then automatic placement, which by the way, Meta developed more, which is, they look at what is the best platform for your content and they start positioning that. And finally, dynamic ads and dynamic creatives, which they're working on still, of positioning your ads based on the best performer. So Andromeda was actually an idea that they had before. They almost like planned this 5 years ago, mentioning these 5 core pillars, I would say, in terms of just their vision and growth.
I agree. So what do you think in terms of what might people be noticing at the moment in terms of like their advertising? They're not really making adjustments and changes in terms of like this new structure, this new way of doing things, this new creative diversification. What would you say from your view that people might be experiencing that might be like, hey, if you're experiencing these things, these are symptoms that you need to adjust your strategy more towards the Andromeda update? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So first thing, like if you're running ads and you're underperforming, you need to think about what is working the account in terms of angle. Because right now with Meta, it's really, and it's always actually been the case, a game of like, what's the creative that's working? What's the angle? Because think about Meta right now, they're looking at your content. As you mentioned, they're ranking it. They're trying to find the avatar based on the content. So if your content is not good, you're not going to be getting a lot of good performance. Actually going to have a tough time scaling. So if you see that your ROAS is declining or your CPMs are higher, it means that your content is not resonating well with the audience. In fact, if your CPMs are high, what does this mean? Let's say your cost per 1,000 impressions is high. It's kind of a relevancy indication. So if you see that your CPMs are high, it means the audience is reacting negatively to it. And that means that they're not connecting properly the dots. So your content is not good. So I would just right away dive into what is the angle that's working and how can I do more content, but essentially relevant content so that I could use it to find the audience.
I think from like a high level, one like in terms of the way that I've seen this happen over the last, particularly like this year, is like in accounts, they might have like 1 to 2 kind of like winning creatives that are like pretty good, pretty strong creatives. And then so what happens usually is like they will try and create like variations or like spin-offs of that creative where it's like the same creative with a different, like, I'm not sure, word track at the start, or the same creative with like a different thumbnail or a different like slight variation, like a different background, different bit of text, different music. And I think initially that would actually work. Like it would stimulate performance. It would increase the kind of like cut through a little bit. And so I think from what I've seen, it's that use of like strategy in terms of like almost really relying on like 1 or 2 creatives, but trying to do little tiny spin-offs of those ones. And if you were to look in the ad account, you could almost identify like, oh, that's the same. Oh, that's kind of similar. Oh, that's kind of similar. And if you were to browse through all the different types of content, it all looks a little bit much of a muchness. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's the situation whereby like you would start to see faster kind of what feels like fatigue. I don't think it is fatigue. It's just the fact that like Meta is not as effectively serving your content to the right people because you're not giving it enough of that kind of like angle diversification. And so naturally your CPMs will go up. It feels like your ads fatigue, and you're like, why is my profitability going down? But it's not actually that. It's the fact that there's like not enough diversification in the account to service all the different types of people that need to see that different content. I think that's what I'm seeing a lot of.
Yes. And keep in mind, there's something like this is actually something that every business owner should be aware of. With A+ content and creative, let's say, optimization with Meta on their own, they could do variations. Like when you add and upload the creative, they literally have background and text and options and hooks and variations that are by default just check in, and you're going to have that. So you working on this, it's almost like you're wasting your time. If you tell me, hey, we're going to do the new background in the past, yes, as you mentioned, it's a good revival. It's going to refresh the content. It's going to be good. Right now, every person is checking the A+ content. They're going to have that by default, 5 to 10 different variations. They're going to have the background pictures. They're going to even have hooks that are new, generated by AI, and they're so good. So my view on this, you're wasting your time if you're actually doing those variations right now. And even the person that I talked to from Meta, this is Meta team, and he's also advanced, and he was like, you're wasting your time if you do that. If you take our budget, our own money, Meta giving you a credit, it's their own money. And like if I give you $10,000 and right now you put it into these variations, you're wasting your time. And I was like, okay, that's probably, I need to do new concepts. And I'm curious about your views on concept, but for me, it's really like the thing right now, like what to focus on is not the variation anymore, as you mentioned. It's really concept and finding that avatar.
Well, it's I think they call it semantic diversification, where it's like, and if you look at the definition of semantic, essentially means like same meaning, different like way of developing context around that meaning. So you could say, for example, I'm going for a run. I'm running down the street, right? You could say, for example, the water runs off the side of the bed. The definition as far as the word sounds the same, but the way that you could describe or showcase the meaning of that word is different. And so I think that's the real key thing. It's like, what is the big promise? What is the big concept that your brand can actually like put out to market? We help with X. We solve X problem. We're the best at X. We transform Y. That type of, overarching principle. And then what you want to do is really like dive into all the different ways. I'll go through some examples here I put together before, because I think this is really, really helpful. So I was spinning up some examples here for the Bisou company, right? And like, it's always something where most of the time, and this is like macro level. So if you're like a founder and you're doing like founder-led content, which is fantastic, it gets a lot of cut through. It's very, very, very strong, right? But all of your founder-led content is like you in some way, shape or form, whether it's sitting down, standing up, walking around, I don't know, down there walking your dog, and it's you face to cam, right? It's like all of that stuff starts to look the same. Right? It's like, if I know this brand as the guy or girl that's always face to cam, whether she's at a cafe, whether she's walking her dog, whether she's in her office, whether she's packing orders, it begins to kind of like, okay, I expect that she's going to be there. I'm seeing the same thing. It kind of gets boring. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing the same stuff over and over again. And so I think it's like the key thing that I want to highlight here is like people listening might be like, geez, this sounds like a whole lot more work. And it's like, it is.
It's more work. You need to do it. Like there's no way around it.
It's exactly right. So it's like, do you complain about it, or do you, complain about making no money? It's like you have to.
And also keep in mind, every person is facing the same challenge. So we're not talking about the situation where, well, it's just you and you're like on your own, and it's every person. Like every business out there is facing the same thing. So either you take this as, well, if it's challenging, then I can master and I can kind of get their rank and scale, or if I'll just leave it and I can't do it, then you're probably going to be working with that defeat mentality or defeated, and it's going to be like, okay, there's nothing I could do, and that's it. You should not do e-commerce, in my opinion.
That's exactly. And the thing that I'm really drilling into myself is like Eugene Schwartz in his book, Breakthrough Advertising. He says, show, don't tell. That's what he always says. If you can show and demonstrate versus making claims and promises, everyone will believe you a lot more. And I think like, if I look at like this, Andromeda update, all these changes and what's happening as far as like, what used to be okay in terms of a founder sitting there and saying, our product's the best and our product does this and our product's on Black Friday sale and our product, it's like, that's you telling people the message, right? So it's like, how could you take that same approach but be able to show it to them? And some great examples that I put together here for the Bisou company was like using that problem solution transformation, meaning like, what's the problem that the potential avatar has, and what is the solution they want to get to? There's 2 or 3 I'll quickly run through here. So it's like, say for example, the scene is like a close-up mirror shot, a girl with like mascara under her eyes. This is interesting coming from me. And the actor's like, the actor's
Sasha
like,
doing the marketing.
I'm like, I've got mascara under my eyes right now. And the actor's like frustrated. She's like pointing to all of the residue under her eyes because she's like frustrated. And she's like, no matter how hard I scrub, it's still there. And it's like, that's all that needs to be said for the avatar who has that same problem to be like, I know what that feels like. I'm connecting with that particular ad. Another great transformation here is like point of view, or like, the actor is like on the phone with her dermatologist having a conversation and being like, she said they're ruining my skin barrier. And so in that moment, it's like you're talking about the pain or the problem that the avatar has, and then there's authority with this dermatologist. And so you might literally say that one line in that particular ad. It's like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and it does so much more than, I spoke to my dermatologist last week and she told me that my skin barrier is actually being, damaged by makeup removal wipes. Now I'm using this. It's like in 2 seconds, I can literally get the same message across. And so I think it's that level of like show, don't tell, show, don't tell, show, don't tell, not sitting there and preaching to your audience about what you're going to do. It's like, how could I demonstrate to this? How could I demonstrate to them this concept in a way that's unique and different, and it kind of shows and doesn't, have me speaking to them? I think that's one big thing that I'm seeing.
Absolutely. And think about like, actually, I remember we were in a coaching session, actually just a call. We were working on Bisou and finding ways, but you mentioned, let's go with this one wipe guarantee. And I was like, that's strong. Like we're still using it right now. If you look at our ads in Meta Ad Library, you're going to notice that we have it as a call to action, one wipe guarantee. And I think those kind of positioning, like they probably you can think about it like, when we doing marketing, running ads, and you tell your audience one wipe guarantee, they're going to start thinking, well, what does this mean? And the goal is to get the attention. We talked about this previously. Is get the attention to the point where they're thinking, well, this is unique. One wipe guarantee. What does this mean? And they you get them into that, funnel in terms of your content. So the goal is to get the attention, obviously, but also in the same time, connect with the audience. If you tell them one wipe guarantee, it's either you get this or it's free. That's already strong. And they're going to start thinking this brand is different. Even though every person knows, like if they ask for a refund, they can get it in 30 days. It's very easy to kind of enforce that. But the fact that you're telling it and saying it like, this is our guarantee. If we don't do this, then you can get your money back. That's already making you kind of a different brand. And right now I feel like businesses are afraid. I talked to a person, I think it was like a month ago, and I was like, you need to mention this thing like in terms of guarantees. And he was like, no, I can't do that. They're going to ask me all for refunds and I'm going to be like done. And it's not going to be good. I was like, what's your refund rate in the last year? He was like, it's very low, under 1%. I'm like, then why are you afraid? If your products are good, you should not be afraid of your audience. And I think connecting with them, talking to them, trying to get their attention, giving them assurance, that's going to be a way to convert an audience over the long run.
I agree. And I think even just to that point on the one wipe guarantee, I'm like, the reason that I believe that works so well is because, number one, it is 3 words. One wipe guarantee. And you, as soon as you like say that out loud or you read that internally in your mind, you go, one wipe. I can imagine my face being wiped one time, guarantee. You know what I mean? It's like,
it felt like an old commercial, to be honest. When you said it, I was like,
I agree.
I heard this probably when I was young. I heard like younger. I remember hearing something like this. I'm sure it was those old commercials telling me like, one time you do something, it's just going to work. So when I heard it actually was so strong, I was like, that's good, because it felt like those commercials. And I think they were good.
It attaches to mental real estate in your mind. Right. And so it kind of borrows one wipe guarantee. It immediately kind of satisfies that kind of sentiment in your mind where you're like, what does that mean? I don't need to think too hard. There's no kind of cognitive load. I'm like, I want that thing and I'm protected very easily. And I think if you think about it, like using the idea of like the show, don't tell, it's like even the wording of that guarantee does the same thing. It's like it demonstrates to people. It's not like use our wipes for X amount of time, and then after X amount of time, if you don't receive X, Y amount of impact, then you get your guarantee. Simplify everything down. It makes it so easy for that user just to be like, got it. I'm ready to buy. You know, it's hyper effective. Yeah.
And I think with AI right now, there's just, there's abundance of content and ideas. Like I actually think that every business owner, let's say they're thinking, well, I'm not Sasha, I can't get these one wipe guarantees. Then I would say you probably can use AI and you're probably going to get something unique and it's probably going to be good. But the fact that you don't do the research and you don't work on that, that's the problem. So I don't think there is limitation right now with AI.
I agree. And I think on the creative side of things, it's like, because of the use of AI, the hardest part of this whole process is you picking up, and I don't even think, because you can spin it all up with AI, but let's just hypothetically say, for example, you don't want to use like Sora or any of the AI generating images or video tools, and you want to create it all yourself. The hardest part of this whole process is picking up your damn camera and shooting some content. Like the ideation.
That's a thing to do.
It's like done for you. You go into GPT, and this is what I recommend everybody to do, is go into GPT and ask that tool to teach you all that there is for your brand, specifically for your brand. Teach me everything for X, Y, and Z company brand. You know my brand. I've been working on this brand for 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. Teach me everything about Andromeda updates. And then based on those teaching, I need you to write me 100 different hooks that really encapsulate all of the specific changes as far as this semantic diversification, how I can apply it, and then what those hooks might look like, and then rank those hooks in terms of like easiest to film and produce down to hardest to film and produce. Get the hell out there into your environment.
But the question here for you would be, let's say you do this, right? Would you test 100 kids a week? Because that's also still, the audience would be thinking, well, I could do 100, but should I publish? Like, what would you think about in terms of particularly that side? Let's say they do this. They put in AI, I want to do all of these things. I want to do the hooks. They do the recordings, but then what? What do you think they should do?
Well, I mean, it depends on the budget ultimately. Like if you're spending like $100 a day or, $200, $300 a day type thing, like your ability to test volumes of creative is pretty limited. You're not going to load up, like 100 different creatives. I think if you were to be testing between 3 to 6, 3 to 7, like angles, like actually different angles on a weekly basis, and loading them into whether it's a broad or Advantage Plus, depending on your budget. Like I said, depending on your budget, is very, very, very important. But on a week-on-week basis, if you're testing between like say 3 to 7, somewhere in that range, and you're constantly like iterating on those things there, as well as once you do identify some winners that are really like performing at a high ROI, you want to scale those things. So it's like we're creative testing in a way where we're just rolling 3 to 5, 3 to 7 per week. And then you're moving some of those things into a scaling type opportunity campaign, and you're really pushing more spend behind them. I think that's a probably manageable way to start.
Absolutely. But I think about something right now. It might be like a little bit weird for some, but I feel like right now, Meta is very good at finding the avatar rate. And some people are very good at getting the content done. But there is kind of the middle where a person should be able to look at the data and understand from Meta what is working to do more of it. So I feel like that's the gap. Like that's the actual gap that I see right now. Because some people will look at their ad account, like I coach that, they attend my calls, and they show me an ad account and they don't know which ad is working. And I know it's weird. You're probably going to think, well, it's just a ROAS and so on. But sometimes they don't have the budget to even see that kind of final ROAS. They just need to see those early signals that say lower cost per add to cart or lower cost per checkout. But it feels like they're not able to analyze the account, like the Meta account. They just can't connect with Meta. So it feels like the next thing would be, in my opinion, would be how can you connect those two things, like understanding what Meta is telling you and then going and recording the content. Those are the two elements. So I feel like that's one challenge that I've noticed recently kind of coming in. They come in, I look at the call, look at the ad account, analyze it, and then I'm like, this is a good ad. I'm like, really? I was not aware of it. I'm like, that's a problem.
Yeah, tracking is a challenge. Just to close off on what I was saying there. So let's say, for example, you want to develop or have live like 3 to 6, 3 to 7 different like angles and completely new like concepts. And these concepts, when I say concept, the concept can just be the hook. Like it can be the first 3 to 5 seconds of the ad, but it needs to be a new way to be able to drive people through into the rest of the body of that ad. That's very important. So it's like, it doesn't mean you need to completely retest an entire 60-second, 90-second piece of content, edit it, produce it, do the whole thing. In fact, I recommend doing concept hooks that bolt onto an existing type of body. I think that that's kind of sufficient for you to test. The important thing here is that when you're developing 3 to 5, 3 to 7 week on week, you set out to probably shoot 30 or probably shoot 50, because what happens is you're pretty bad at creative development. It's just the truth. And so if you actually do 30 pieces and you're doing different environments and you're doing different things and you're acting out different concepts, you'll probably land on 3 to 5. 10%, 15% might be good or the best of the best because you're still getting better. So I think that's the one thing. If you set out week on week and you've just got 5 concepts and then you shoot 5 concepts, you might every couple of weeks you get one that really works, simply because they're not going to be that good. So it's very important. The volume side of things, it still stands true here. Don't think you can just, spit together 3 or 4 things and be like, well, that's good. That satisfies the algorithm for this week. I'm good to go. Yeah, it's very important.
But I think, you mentioned this, but it's really important. The win rate in terms of your content. I've seen businesses where they do 10 concept and they have like 5 or 6 like really good one they can scale. And some of them would take them probably 50 concept, which I know it's crazy, but really something that I've seen, it's about the quality and the quantity. So it's kind of, you're forced to do volume, but do the right volume. So otherwise you're just going to be wasting money. That's
Agreed. I think the last component as part of this update is obviously the creative aspect is huge. That's like 80-90% of the work. The tracking and the reporting side of things in terms of, because if you think about, so it's like Meta's using all of these creative concepts and these ideas to find people that align with that particular creative. It's ranking the creatives and then it's going and finding and hunting in the actual platform the people that align with those things. So it's like the core important piece of data is that the information as far as conversion gets passed back into the platform. Give me some information on that side of the spectrum, Hamen, as far as tracking. What have you seen as far as potential tracking issues that might cause lack of like passover of information?
Yes, it's actually been the case for like 2-3 years. Like Meta is not able to see all the information because of the update with iOS and everything. So due to privacy, we can't see everything sometimes, and you're going to be missing on conversions. Probably some of you guys listening to this, you look at Shopify, you see 2 sales, you look at your ad account, it says 0. I'm like, hey, what's happening? So this happens a lot. My view on this would be, you need to look at, first, you can use UTMs, which is a way to track a little bit, let's say, the clicks, where they're coming from, analyze the campaigns. Like you can set this up very easily. If you look at Meta, you can go to your ad level and click on the, let's say, when you add like the creative, you have the, let's say the link, like in the link with the UTMs, you can add that. That's going to be, I would say, a URL parameter that would allow you to track the person when they click. So that's one way to improve the tracking. But my view on this would be, if I was to just think about, I'm starting out, I'm new in business, I don't know, like I don't want to pay for a tool. I'll think about use the, I would say, add to cart level instead of the purchase to analyze the quality of the ad. So a lot of accounts I look at, instead of looking at the cost per purchase, I look at the cost per add to cart. And that would give me more indication on reliable information, because the funnel in e-commerce is, a person will load your website. So they would click on the website and then they go to add to cart and then they initiate checkout and then buy. The volume of actions in terms of add to cart is significantly higher to purchases. So the volume of add to cart is much more reliable than the volume of purchases, because it's just, you have more information. So I would rely on that more to look at what is the best performer. So I will load an account, put the column, cost per add to cart, look at the lowest one, the odds, that's a good ad. If really it's the lowest one, it's the best one you have. So that would be a way for you to navigate if you don't have, let's say, any expertise, you don't want to use UTMs, and you're not tracking properly fully the sales. If you want to invest a little bit more time, which I think you should, by the way, work on, like, use a tool such as Triple Whale. It's pretty easy to use, and Triple Whale would be a tool that would give you kind of an indication on where the conversion is coming from. There are multiple ways with first click, last click, and even Triple Whale, they include a new function called impact, total impact, which will look at not only the ad, they're going to ask even people, once they purchase in Shopify, they're going to ask them, where did they see this ad? So they're really going to look at what is the thing that's driving most of the impact. One of my accounts, I discovered that there's one creative with 1.2 ROAS, very bad. that's driving significant performance for us. The moment I pause it, just as a split test, I've seen my ROAS drop like significantly. So I was like, oh, there is some impact that I was not calculating. And this is something that I think some businesses that are scaling more, they need to use Triple Whale or UTMs to really track those things. I'm actually curious, what's your view on this? Will you use Triple Whale or?
Triple whale is fantastic. The thing that I think it's like, okay, so if you think about what we're doing here, we're testing more concepts, we're pushing more volumes of creatives into the ad account. We're doing it in a less kind of like a specific kind of like ABO ad set level. It's more kind of broad and open. So what does that necessitate? It necessitates the need to be able to determine tracking more effectively. Right? Because it's like we're removing what would have been in the past. I don't know if you remember, like when I used to set up ad accounts years ago, it'd be like every single ad set budget, every single creative would be measured. You could quantify, you could sit there and go line item by line item. What's the performance of this creative? What's the performance? This received $80 spend, etc. That's all gone.
That was good times. Good times. I'm so excited. So good. Like when you tell me this, I'm like, I feel bad right now.
It was easy in the sense that you could track everything, but very manually and very like hardcore through each line item. But at the same time, it just required more work. You know what I mean? And it was also like a lot more for people to try and like familiarize it. It's like, here's how to understand an ad account. Go through every single line item, see every single individual budget, how much ROAS, this is what to do, this is what to cut, this is what to keep, this is what to... I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane.
And no Andromeda. You just have like one like variation, just new hook or new colors, and you're like running with new creatives. So good.
It's like that's what used to, and I remember all of my old tracking sheets from years ago. It's like you used to track through the sheet and then you populate all of the particular information from each individual ad set, the spend versus the ROAS, and you could easily tell like performance quite quickly as per each individual ad against the interest or the targeting, lookalike, whatever it was. And so now it's like, okay, all of that's removed. We're loading a whole bunch of creatives on various different, like probably funnel stages of awareness, some slightly more top of funnel, some direct, conversion offer, hardcore sell now. And so it's like to be able to plot the path, right, of like this creative interacted first, then here, then there, it begins to become really important. Otherwise, the analogy that I love here is like, if you think about like a football team and they're on the field, and the strikers playing soccer, right? The strikers, they're the ones who usually score the goals, right? They're usually at the front of the field and they always score the goals. It's their job, right? But to sit there and say, okay, so those are the only people that score the goals and win the game. Let's remove everyone else from the field. It's like, well, you lose.
Like, hey,
you lose the game.
You lose right away.
So the tracking becomes very important. I think Cappy installing like the Cappy conversion and making sure that's passed back into Meta from your Shopify platform, very, very, very important. Triple Whale in terms of what's essentially looking at that kind of entire purchase journey. This creative first, this creative second, total impact, I think is a fantastic reporting system as well. Those two ways of being able to pass more information back into Meta, essentially what you're looking to do, and perhaps like a high level strategy to be able to look at like it's like, look, at the end of each month, at the end of each week, if you review how many purchases you've got inside of your inside of Shopify against what's actually tracked in Meta, in an ideal scenario, they would want to be zeroing out to be the same. Like, it's never going to happen. There's always going to be gaps. But I think if you look at it through this lens, because my own perspective personally used to be like, okay, well, stuff it, doesn't matter. Meta's always off. Who cares? Let it do its thing. At least I've got the stuff tracked on Shopify. Who cares? And that used to be the way I used to think about it. It doesn't matter. You're never going to get 100% accuracy. And it's like, because of this adjustment from a creative lens, it's like, it kind of needs to be closer. And if you've got like, 100 purchases on Shopify and then 40 tracked on your Meta account, it's like, that's a real problem because you've got literally 50% kind of tracking accuracy. 50% of the creatives that might have actually generated the purchases aren't tracked, aren't receiving signals back to them. And the optimization that can be done on, improving that purchase journey and then you seeing what's working and doing more of those creatives, it's completely blind. So the tracking is very, very, very key. Yeah.
Yes, specifically we look at the avatar, like the concept. How would you know unless you have some data on that? So my view on this would be, you need to really have good tracking, make sure it's working. So as you mentioned, with Shopify integration, it should be good. On top of this, if you need more, you can use Triple Whale or even UTMs. They do the same thing. You can leverage UTMs. You don't need to pay for Triple Whale. But my view is we need tracking. That's the main thing. And you need to work on these concepts, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Give me the top 3 things, Hamen, that you think people need to take away from this episode, the most important, highest impact, most actionable things that need to happen in relation to this change.
And I'll add one thing, actually. One last thing I actually just remembered, that just jump of new things. I would say cost cap is more effective. That's something I wanted to mention. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I do believe cost cap is a strategy that could really thrive in this environment, because you add in a lot of creatives and you give Meta a cost, and it's almost like, go find that, match of my cost versus the creative. And I think that's going to be in the next year or two one of the most scalable structure in media buying. And it doesn't require a media buyer. It's just really telling Meta, what's your cost? How much are you willing to get into? And they have a new setup, which is the target ROAS, which essentially you tell them even what you want as a ROAS. And think about this. Meta wants simplification. They want simplifying structures. They don't want the person to be really stressed about the platform. If you tell them the ROAS you want, you tell them the cost you want, and you give them infinite creatives, you're probably going to thrive and scale up. So that's my view on it, to jump off that one element that I think would be the next thing for any person thinking about Meta in the future. So sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's good. It's a good point.
Yeah. So going over the 3 things, if I was to come back and I'll add this as a third one, the first one would be you need to do creatives, and they should not be like just background changes. That's, again, a thing from the past, right? You can't do that. That just it's not going to work. Second thing would be building a better targeting, in my opinion, in terms of working on the creative concept, really, and not necessarily the, let's say, I would say the interest targeting would probably not perform that much, in my opinion. I would do broad targeting and then focus on tracking, making sure you understand the concept. And I would say a third thing would be to probably, again, cost cap / volume, but it's going to be volume of creative, making sure you have a consistent volume of angles and concept, and ideally scaling with cost cap. In my opinion, again, just I know I'm probably biased because I've been focusing on this for about 6 years, but really cost cap would be a scalable structure for people that are doing above 10K. I think it's a no-brainer, and that those are the 3 things probably I'll focus on.
I think from my end, the only thing I'd add to that is just like, if you're listening to this and you're not willing to make the change and shift in terms of this new direction, like, you're going to really fight and struggle to, stay relevant and stay profitable in your business. And so it's like, you can listen to this and be like, oh yeah, geez, that sounds exciting. Yeah, well, and you can act now. Or you can wait 6 months until your ad account's burning and you're making no money and you're like, oh, geez, I guess I better create more creatives. It's like, move with the trends. There's this saying that I always say, it's like in e-commerce, particularly because of how fast this market moves, the fast movers, the ones that act quickly, they always make all the money because they're ahead, they're changing, they're ahead of the trend, and they're already capitalizing on these new updates. And so it's like, there'll be a whole bunch of brands and businesses that just go business as usual for the next 12 months probably, and their whole entire account structure will flatline. You know what I mean? It's like the brands that grab onto this right now and they're like, okay, it's a creator economy. Got it. Let's move with the times. Let's get active. Let's start thinking of different concepts. Let's push things live. You are the ones that are going to win the most. So I think that's the key thing that I just want to close off with. Very, very important stuff. Take some of the things that you can out of this episode, implement them into your business. Don't mess around and wait around until next year, next month, whenever it might be. Do it right now.
Amazing. I'm actually excited about the future with Meta. So it's going to be good.
We have
some competition. That's a competition. If your competitors, if people can do things, then that's just more money for us. It's like that's
exactly right. That's exactly right. I appreciate, as always, Hamen. Great episode. I hope you guys have got some value from this. Please get into your ad accounts. Please get into your creative feedback loops. Start actioning and implementing some of these changes so you can be more effective. You can be more competitive. You can be more aggressive in today's current economy, and start growing your brand and growing it more profitably. Thanks so much, Hamen. I'll see you again soon.
It's a pleasure. See you soon.